The Green Bay Packers played their first preseason game over the weekend versus the New York Jets. I was away for the weekend, so I actually just got done watching this game in full. So I want to go over all my biggest takeaways from this very rough first preseason game for the Green Bay Packers. All right, so let's dive right into it. I'm going to start off by saying this. Typically, preseason games are meaningless, right? The end result doesn't really matter. But you still want to see the team come prepared, right? So the issues with the Green Bay Packers last year, at least one of the main ones on offense, was dropping the football, not being able to catch the football. And from my counter, it could be less, it could be more. But from when I watched the game, the Packers dropped 7 footballs, including more so early on with the starting offense. Romeo Doubs dropped a couple, Malik Heath dropped one. And that seems to be a reoccurring theme. And I really don't want this to carry into 2025. Obviously, if it does, that's going to halt the offense a lot, right? And I really hope it doesn't. If this continues, I think we need to have a conversation on Jason Vrabel, the Packers wide receiver coach, and whether or not the Packers should even keep him in the building. But outside of that, it's still just a very rough showing for the Green Bay Packers, and it's just kind of an embarrassing performance. And I don't want to get ahead of myself and get too ranty here because, yeah, it is just a preseason game. And I don't want to go as far as some of the comments I saw already, like fire Matt LaFleur. I mean, that's crazy to say for a preseason game, right? But I understand where some people are coming from when you look at this game and you're just like, wow, the Packers just look completely unprepared. What have they been doing for the past month, right? I get that, right? You want to see competitive football. You want to see guys flying around, making plays. You want to see players that seem like they want to be there to make the roster, where it seemed like a lot of the players for the Packers in this game, it just didn't seem like they wanted to be there, which is a little bit concerning. This football team has to be ready to play, and it's very important for the back-end depth of how this roster is shaped out for the players making this 53-man roster. So I wanted to see a lot more competitiveness from this game. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, I understand it also doesn't mean anything. It's a preseason game, and a lot of people are pointing at the starting offense not doing well, and Jordan Love going 1 for 5 for 7 yards. But at the end of the day, 3 of those incompletions were drops, and then another one was just a miscommunication with Luke Musgrave deep. Overall, I'm not worried at all how Jordan Love played. It looked like he was on time, firing the football in with sometimes too much velocity. He was accurate for the most part, except for that Luke Musgrave deep throw. And also, we have to remember, Adam Stenavich was calling plays. So this is not what our traditional offense, at least the game plan, and there really isn't too much of a script or game plan when it comes to a preseason game. But Adam Stenavich was calling plays, which I feel like every time that happens, the offense just doesn't look good. So that's something to take into consideration as well. As for the defense, I think there's a lot to clean up. And some people were saying, oh, it's because the Packers defense were running vanilla plays, and they really weren't. They were running a lot of simulated pressures. They were moving players all around. It seemed like Hafley was trying different things like he normally does in season, but the Jets were still able to move the football pretty well. And I think the majority of it was the middle of the field. I mean, it was wide open all night long, and there was a rep I saw from Isaiah Simmons, and we'll dive into all the losers from this game and also the winners. There's both in both categories, but I mean, it might have been the worst rep I've seen from a linebacker in a long time. Isaiah Simmons in the middle of the field just lost out there, and it seemed like that happened a few times, and wasn't a great game for Isaiah Simmons, that's for sure. But overall, it just seemed like the defense wasn't flying around enough, playing physical enough, where on the flip side, you saw Jets defenders doing that. Like, they were so physical at the point of attack. They were playing some press. They were just remaining physical throughout the entirety of the game. And I feel like I just didn't see that with the Packers defense. And you want to, right? This is live action football, whether it's preseason or the regular season. Every single player is fighting for something. So you kind of want to see more emotion, more physicality. And again, just like the offense, I just didn't feel like we saw that. So diving down into the stats, the Packers just could not pass the football on Saturday. If you look at it, Malik Willis, 4 of 9, 39 yards, sacked 3 times, one of which a fumble for a touchdown. Taylor Elgersma, 3 for 4, 24 yards. Sean Clifford, 2 for 4, 14 yards. Jordan Love, 1 for 5, 7 yards. So the Packers overall 10 for 22, 64 yards of passing, a 3.8 average. If one thing this tells me, considering every single quarterback wasn't efficient passing the football, the play calls were just not there. Like, they were not there, and that does go back to Adam Stenavich. So I think overall the Packers could be better with a pure play calling offensive coordinator, and then Matt LaFleur could kind of like take over the general aspect of the team. But at the end of the day, Matt LaFleur is our best play caller, and Adam Stenavich calling plays in this game, whatever, it is what it is. It's a preseason game, but clearly it doesn't work. Now, as for the rushing attack, that was a bit better. Early on, it really wasn't doing anything, but then later, of course, Mar Johnson had that big long run of 39 yards for a touchdown, and clearly was, the most efficient running back on the day. 7 carries, 67 yards, and the touchdown. Israel Banikonda saw a ton of action in this game, not only on offense, but on special teams. 6 carries, 19 yards. Chris Brooks, 5 carries, 15 yards. Jalen White, 2 for 16, and Malik Willis also had a run, 1 for 5. Overall, the Packers ran really well. I liked the run blocking up front by the Packers offensive line, 5.9 average. And considering, we're without basically Josh Jacobs, I think he played a couple snaps. Manuel Wilson, Marshawn Lloyd, hopefully those two can get back next week or the third preseason game. We start to see those running backs as well. And of course, the Packers passing was bad, so the Packers receiving was bad. The leading receiver, 20 yards, 2 receptions, 20 yards, Will Shepherd, just abysmal, right? And then the next 2 players are backup tight ends, Ben Sims and John Fitzpatrick, both had a reception for 17 yards apiece. Again, we already kind of talked about it, but the drops were abysmal. It's like, we got to clean this up. I get it. It's a preseason game and it's going to look sloppy, and it should, right? It's a preseason game. But when you have 2024 in your mind and how many passes were dropped by this Packers offense, it just stings a little bit, because you're like, okay, it's not just guys that aren't going to make the roster that are dropping the passes. It's Romeo Doubs dropping too, and I have him down as one of my losers on today's list, just because we watch Romeo Doubs in practice making play after play, and this goes for any player. You continue to say, okay, well, let's see if they could do it when it comes time to step on the actual football field against a real live defense, and then it's like 2 straight drops on quick, easy slant. And the Jets were playing physical, like Sauce Gardner was playing physical on Romeo Doubs and Matthew Golden, but that's also what I wanted to see from the Packers. But you got to catch the football. You got to catch the football, and it's just damning at this point that it's still happening. Quickly wanted to show you guys some of the top and bottom grades from this past game via PFF. Zach Tom scored an 81.6. Amar Johnson, the most efficient running back, is 79.5. Jordan Morgan, 76.5. I thought Jordan Morgan had a phenomenal day at left tackle. He saw 36 total snaps, including 23 pass blocking snaps, and he went clean all night. Not a single pressure, not a single sack allowed. And Jordan Morgan was a player entering this game we were all circling, going, okay, we need to watch Jordan Morgan heavily in this game, because he has kind of been struggling in a camp at left tackle, especially against Lucas Van Ness. But I thought he had a wonderful game, and that also makes me feel better about Lucas Van Ness, who also had a wonderful game, that it wasn't just, okay, it's because he's going against Jordan Morgan. I know it's just one outing, but an 88.0 pass block grade, 0 pressures allowed, and going against some Jet starters and rotational edge rushers at left tackle. I was very, very impressed with Jordan Morgan, and I hope this is kind of a building block for him, saying, hey, I just put on some awesome tape, my first full outing at left tackle, really, in a preseason game, getting a ton of snaps like that. I can build off of this and get better and better each day. So really like Jordan Morgan as well. Will Shepherd's up there. He was our leading receiver. Some of the guys on the bottom, Tyler Cooper, McCole Hardman, man. Isaiah Simmons and McCole Hardman are 2 free agents we signed this offseason, did not have good games at all. Romeo Doubs at the bottom, Donovan Jennings a lower grade. Overall, in terms of pressures allowed for this offensive line, Jacob Monk allowed 2. I thought it was a rough outing for Jacob Monk. He also had 3 penalties. I mean, this was also a sloppy game based on penalties, especially for the offense. It seemed like every time they converted a third down, there was holding, or there was another type of penalty, and Jacob Monk accounted for 3 of them. He saw most snaps at right guard, some at center. I thought it was a really rough game for Monk, and you could see a 23.6 pass block grade. Somehow Tyler Cooper had a 0.0 pass block grade, getting that Royce Newman badge of honor there. Sean Ryan allowed 2 pressures. Cooper, Tom, and Jennings a pressure each, but only 2 sacks allowed, 1 by Sean Ryan, 1 by Jacob Monk. There's things to clean up in terms of the depth of this pass blocking offensive line, but overall I was impressed. I think the Packers have a lot of players on this offensive line, a lot of guys that, your 6th to 7th linemen could probably start around the league. You see Jordan Morgan here, again, a clean slate, no sacks, hits, hurries, or pressures. And then Anthony Belton played 42 snaps at right tackle, and he also had a clean night. above average grade at 65.9, good run block, good pass block grade. But when you look at the stats in terms of pass blocking, no sacks, hits, hurries, or pressures allowed. So wonderful night by both Jordan Morgan and Anthony Belton at both tackle spots, left tackle and right tackle. Now flipping over to some of the defensive grades, Kingsley Enagbare, a 90.1, Tyron Hopper, 88.6. Some of the winners, the defense, I have more winners on defense than I do offense. The only winners on offense I have, Jordan Morgan and Anthony Belton and Amar Johnson. That's it. So on defense, I have a lot more winners after watching this game. Baron Sorrell was one of them. Tyron Hopper was another. Colby Wooden, which we'll dive down into here, very impressed with him. Nazir Stackhouse, Warren Brinson, LVN. Those are the guys that I was very impressed with in this game. And some of the losers on defense, Isaiah Simmons, I talked about it. Jamon Johnson looked really, really rough out there. There wasn't as many losers on defense that there were on offense, in my opinion, just due to all the drops on offense. But really love to see Tyron Hopper having a nice game here. Watching him on film, he was flying around, filling gaps well, making secure tackles. He had 5 total tackles with 0 missed. Also, a really nice game by Kalen King, and I'm interested to look at the snap share of how many snaps he played outside to inside. We'll look at coverages here in a second, but overall, really nice grade there. Jared Bartlett, a linebacker they brought in a couple weeks ago, had a good grade. Carrington Valentine played in 10 snaps. Lucas Van Ness had a good grade, 71.2, and although he doesn't have any pressures or sacks, it was early on, I think the first drive, 2 straight times he had really nice run defenses on, I think it was either Breece Hall or Braylon Allen, whoever was in at running back for the Jets at the time. And then Baron Sorrell, man, an 87.9 pass rush grade, including 2 pressures. And he also had 2 tackles with 0 miss. Really liked what I saw from Baron Sorrell. I know a lot of people very, very hype about Baron Sorrell, and you see why. From a 4th-round pick, he's a guy that I think is going to contribute right away. Kingsley Enagbare, a guy that flashes, it seems like, every so often in a game, and he did in this one. Two pressures, 4 total tackles, 0 missed, 4 total stops. Enagbare was a guy that, I was thinking, hey, maybe he could be a surprise cut at the end of preseason, but, if he continues to play like this, he'll definitely remain on the roster, and right now I'm leaning that way. Like, the Packers are definitely going to keep him, especially considering Colin Oliver has yet to even suit up. So as we see here, Colby Wooden, honestly, his grade doesn't do him justice, 59.5, and I'm honestly shocked it's this with a 36.2 tackle grade, even though he only missed 1 but had 4 tackles. I'm going to say this. I was extremely, extremely impressed with Colby Wooden. As you see here, he's listed at 6'4", 273. Reports are that he's coming in at 300 pounds, and you could tell. I mean, the Packers started to play around with him at nose tackle this early offseason, and I, for one, wasn't really moved by it. I was like, okay, well, we brought in Warren Brinson, we brought in Nazir Stackhouse, like easily one of those guys should beat Colby Wooden, but I'm gonna eat crow here and say I'm very impressed with Colby Wooden in this game. There were multiple times that he was just moving people and getting into the backfield, completely plugging up some run lanes, and he's a guy that I thought could be a surprise cut as well, and now it makes a very interesting defensive line group, right, of potentially 5 or 6 guys. I feel like they're going to keep 5, but could they keep 6? In terms of the locks, obviously Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks, and I would say Warren Brinson is the 4th guy. I mean, he could end up being cut and put on the practice squad, but I'm going to consider him a lock. Then it comes down to Stackhouse and Wooden for that 5th spot, but could they keep 6 players if both continue to impress? Because it's not just, Colby Wooden's playing excellently, okay, he's your 5th guy. Because Stackhouse and Brinson are also impressing a lot as well. Stackhouse made plays in this game. Warren Brinson made plays in this game. And it makes me feel a lot better about this interior defensive line depth that definitely was a question mark, entering this offseason. And I've been very, very impressed with Colby Wooden, especially in camp. He's been making a couple plays, and you wanted to see it, in a game sense. And you definitely did against the Jets. Definitely made some good plays there. And he's taking on that role head first, right? Put on nearly 25 plus pounds to play this role and try to earn a roster spot, carve out a role on this defense. Very, very impressed with Colby Wooden. Before we go into the coverages, want to look at the snap shares from some of these cornerbacks. So Micah Robinson played full outside cornerback, 34 snaps. Bo Melton also all boundary, 29 snaps. Both of these corners did allow a 100% reception rate. Micah Robinson, 1 reception on 1 target for 12 yards. Bo Melton, 2 receptions on 2 targets for 21 yards. Both a plus 100 passer rating. We also see Isaiah Dunn got outside boundary corner reps, Tyron Herring boundary corner, and then we move into the slot. Kalen King was majority slot cornerback. That's what I've always seen from him. in last year and heading into this year, that he's a slot cornerback in my eyes, and this showcases that the Packers believe that too. And he had a good day. I thought Kalen King had a phenomenal day at this slot position. Didn't allow a reception on 2 targets, had a pass breakup, allowed a quarterback rating of 39.6. Again, taking 24 snaps out of the slot, 4 from corner, even 5 in the box, and 4 on the defensive line. I'm sure that was some nickel pressures or simulated pressures from that nickel spot. So that's why he has that snap share there as well. And Corey Ballantyne saw 8 snaps in the slot, 3 on boundary. And Javon Bullard was, moved around all over the place. I thought it was a nice game from Javon Bullard. Kind of a player that you didn't talk about much in the game because he was where he was supposed to be, making the plays that he was supposed to be, and wasn't targeted once in coverage, which is great to see. Something that he does struggle with is man coverage. And you see he took 4 snaps in the slot, 1 at corner, 3 at safety, and 2 in the box. So the Packers continue to just move Javon Bullard all around the place. Now, the Packers ended up not getting any sacks in this game, which is a little disappointing, but I did see some nice pressures. We already talked about Baron Sorrell, Kingsley Andubari, Warren Brinson also had a pressure, Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks, and Aaron Mosby all had pressures. Like I said, I thought it was a great night from Lucas Van Ness. Would like to see him maybe get a pressure or something here, or sack at some point. But I was still happy with how he played in this game in the limited snap share, right? He only played in 6 total pass snaps, so only had 6 reps rushing the passer, so not much to really work off there. Then to wrap things up, some special teams. I thought one of the winners was definitely Daniel Whelan. I thought he punted really well in this game, and man, he had to punt a lot. So the Packers definitely have one of the best punters in the league. Very happy about that. Brandon McManus was 1 of 1 in his only attempt. It was a nice kick. There was a holding, I think, on the opening kickoff return. I think it was by Baron Sorrell. Abani Konda got most of the kick return reps. I think Will Shepard did a little bit later, or I think Will also got some punt return reps. I liked what I saw from Abani Konda at kick return. We'll see who ends up getting majority kick return reps this year in 2025. And then, of course, McCole Hardman just had an awful day. Had a drop on offense, fair caught a ball inside the 5-yard line, and also muffed a punt, which gave the ball back to the Jets. I mean, it was just an awful day by McCole Hardman, someone who's having such a great camp. And this happens all the time. You have a guy that is just phenomenal in camp and then goes into the preseason games and just lays an egg. Like we saw it a lot with Juwan Winfrey back in the day. And I hope that's not the case with Hardman, because I don't know who else is going to return punts, but if he's putting on outings like that, I don't know if I want him returning punts, but I also don't want Jaden Reed back there or Keyshawn Nixon. Like, hopefully the Packers can figure this out, and McCole Hardman can bounce back in a positive way here and put together some nice practices this week, the joint versus the Colts, and then against the Colts here in preseason week 2. But those are all my thoughts. Again, it's just a preseason game, but I would have liked to see a lot more competitiveness out of this Packers football team and just more want to be there. Again, it just didn't really seem like anyone, too many players wanted to be there, which is a little concerning considering the majority of these players are fighting for a spot on an NFL roster. And it just seemed like the Jets had a lot more energy, a lot more aggressiveness, physicality in this game, and I hope the Packers can bounce back in a positive way, in a good way here in week 2 versus the Colts. Go down and click that subscribe button if you're a new viewer and want to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers this offseason and into the season. They have a couple practices this week. They have one today that's closed off to the public but open to the media. Then they have one tomorrow that's open to the public. Then they travel to Indianapolis on Wednesday, and their joint practice versus the Colts are on Thursday before their game there on early Saturday. So be on the lookout for all the content coming out on this channel from those practices. But really appreciate you guys coming by. I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.